What's going on today, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Ben on Sports. I know it's another NASCAR episode. You should be used to the NASCAR weekly episodes by now. I promise, I promise, I promise. We have at least one other sport coming soon. Just have to give you a minute. I'm trying to wait for the MLB to get to the All-Star break, which is right around the corner. And then you will finally get a reprieve from NASCAR. But excuse me. If you are a NASCAR fan, or maybe even if you're not and you want to know more about the sport, stay tuned in. And I'm going to get you guys your weekly preview for this weekend, July 4th weekend in Chicago at the Chicago Street Race, the third time NASCAR has been there. But first, let's get some of these storylines. And NASCAR's most popular driver, Chase Elliott, finally gets in victory lane. That's the biggest headline of this week in NASCAR. And not only did he get in the victory lane, he moved up to second in points. The regular season points battle is quite interesting. We're going to look at it a little bit later. But Chase Elliott winning a race, locking himself into the playoffs. He was really, really good on points. And obviously, like I said, he was already top 5 in points, but he moved up to second. And this confirms, locks him in, no ifs, ands, or buts. No craziness about having 16 different winners and him not being one. He is in the field. Great for NASCAR and the most popular driver. Hendrick Motorsports is now one driver away from having all 4 of their drivers win a race this season, joining Joe Gibbs, who has 3 of their 4 drivers with wins this season, and Team Penske, who has all 3 of their cars. Lost maybe a little bit in the Chase Elliott win is that chaos struck last week, which is part of why Chase Elliott was able to move up to second place in the regular season points. A lot of big names, a lot of contenders who were running well, some of which had a lot of stage points get wrecked in the second stage in that big wreck at the back. Some of these names include Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Josh Berry, another race winner, William Byron, and many other names of the sort. Massive wreck in stage 2. Cost a lot of guys their day. Bad points day for a lot of the drivers. But such is life at drafting style tracks. That's definitely the biggest wreck, at least I feel like, that they've had in Atlanta since they repaved it. Came at an unfortunate time for a lot of the people who took stage points and moved to the back. But can't help it. Most of those guys have wins that are okay. And I would say most, keyword most, of the drivers that are trying to point their way in were able to stay in the race and still get okay finishes. In-season order tournament update. You just heard me talking about how chaos struck. Coming into the race, I believe there was 11 distinct winners in the NASCAR Cup Series. Maybe it was 12. Obviously, Shane Van Gisbergen did not make the in-season tournament, which goes to the rant I made a couple weeks ago about how ridiculous this playoff format is. But the in-season tournament coming in, many of the drivers who have won races, were seated decently or seated, at least in the top half. The only driver that has won a race this season and is still in the in-season tournament is Chase Elliott, and he won the first race of the tournament. How much of a backwards, stupid system do you have to have? And, maybe this in-season tournament is good for NASCAR, good for the sport. But just like March Madness, how many people stop caring after their champion or after all of their picks lose? And then you put the first week at a track like Atlanta where chaos like this can happen. And now all of the favorites are out. All of the high seeds are out for the most part. And you're left in a situation where most of your featured names and premier drivers are no longer in the in-season tournament because A, NASCAR decided to seed them in an incredibly stupid fashion, and B, decided in just as equally as stupid fashion to put it at Atlanta. I'm all for this in-season tournament idea. I think some of the trash talk between the drivers this week has been funny. But one thing they have to do is they have to change the seeding process, and they have to change the tracks they do it at. obviously, in-season tournament update. The two favorites to continue moving on are probably Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott. Maybe you can throw Chris Buescher in there. Holy crap, though. Let's go through the list of former champions and guys who have won a lot of races that are now out because of the situation NASCAR put themselves in. Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, the biggest names in the sports, Christopher Bell, all are out. In-season tournament update after 1 week. That I would argue it's pretty much been an utter disaster. Great idea, horribly executed. Welcome to NASCAR. Yeah, definitely need to make some changes for next year. Are any road course races aces ready to take advantage? Shane Van Gisbergen, despite being currently 32nd out of 36 full-time cars, is now in the playoffs because he's a road course ace. Who is there a road course ace in a similar situation that can punch their ticket this week at the Chicago street course? Or is there a driver who, is in on points but doesn't want to take the risk that can punch themselves in? I think that's very possible. Guys on the outside looking in that do well on road courses. AJ Allmendinger, Ty Gibbs, Michael McDowell, and a lot of those three guys might need a win to get in at this point. Some guys who are good on points but don't want to take the risk who can win? No, look no farther than first and second from last year's Chicago race, Alex Bowman and Tyler Reddick. Are their aces ready to take advantage? I think so. How do we feel about TNT? I think it's been, after 1 week, I think it's been better than Fox. I don't know if it quite raises to the level of Prime, but TNT, 4 more races? I'm interested to see how well they do and if they can live up to the standard that Prime set. It is sometimes a little bit confusing or frustrating, I think, to flip around channels to find all the different qualifying and stuff. But TNT, not a bad first week. And I already gave you my new in-season tournament favorite, probably Chase Elliott or Tyler Reddick. Finally, let's get into the next-gen history at road courses, of which there have been 19 races. Recent winners. This is just the winners going back to last season. William Byron, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman. That means last year there was a 3-race stretch where Hendrick Motorsports won all of them. That is at COTA, Sonoma, in the Chicago Street Course last year, which is Alex Bowman. Chris Buescher winning in the playoffs at Watkins Glen last year, and then Kyle Larson winning at the Roval. Christopher Bell winning earlier this year at COTA. Shane Van Gisbergen winning the Mexico City road course. Those are your winners at your last couple of road courses over the last 2 years. Best average finish. Chris Buescher at 8.8 does have that win, and then in Denny Hamlin's words, just rides around in 9th or 10th place all day and has the best average finish, which when you look at the top fives and you look at his average finish, maybe there's a point to be made there. Chase Elliott, I know that's going to shock everybody, 9.8. Shane Van Gisbergen, despite running only 8 or 9 of the 19 races, so just under half, I decided to go ahead and include him. 10.9 average finish. Tyler Reddick, 11.2. Christopher Bell, 11.6. A lot of the big names, a lot of consistent playoff caliber drivers. And then Shane Van Gisbergen, who is arguably only in NASCAR right now because of his success at road courses. Most top fives in those 19 races. Chase Elliott with 10, meaning over half of the races he's been top 5. Tyler Reddick at 8. Christopher Bell at 7. And 3 drivers tied at 6 top 5s. Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, William Byron. Lots of Chevys with 2 Toyotas on that list. Not seeing a lot of Ford at all on this list. Ford maybe needs to work on that road course package. Most top 10s on road courses. Chris Buescher, 15. Okay, he's not top 5 in top 5s, but he's number 1 by 2 results. 15 of the 19 races, he's been top 10. Not a lot of top 5s to show for it. Does have 1 win. What Chris Buescher, you can pretty much pencil him in to finish in between 6th and 10th. Tyler Reddick, 13th, one of the best road course, arguably the best road course driver in the next gen. Chase Elliott at 12. Michael McDowell, maybe a sleeper name to watch at 11. Christopher Bell with 10. top 10 finishes. And most wins, Kyle Larson and Kyle Reddick both have 3 road course wins in the next gen. And then it's really a 3-way tie for third after that. Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Shane Van Gisbergen. If there's rain, I think I like Shane Van Gisbergen even more. The 2 races he won have been when some rain has been in the forecast. Favorites to win Chicago, I got Trackhouse. Ross Chastain's been pretty good. Suarez has a road course win. Ross Chastain has a road course win. I believe they have Zilich this weekend. You know what Shane Van Gisbergen is going to do. Trackhouse and a greater sphere of influence, Chevy, seems to be really good at these road courses. I like Trackhouse to win this week. I like Hendrick to win. I think those 2 teams could get 5 or 6 of the top 10 this weekend. And then Joe Gibbs in 23XI. Toyota has been really good at these tracks. Toyota has some wins. I look forward to seeing Joe Gibbs in 23XI. Maybe Tyler Reddick for 23XI finally gets a win this season. And then RFK Racing might be the best 4-team. Priest has done better than people realize. He was doing really well at Mexico City until he got a penalty. I've already talked about Chris Buescher and his ability to drive around the top 10s. And who knows, maybe the old wily vet that doesn't really do well in road courses, Brad Keselowski, has something up his sleeve. Coming to individual driver rankings. Shane Van Gisbergen, I think, has to be the favorite to win this week, with Chase Elliott right behind him. Chase Elliott coming in hot after winning Atlanta. Maybe Chase Elliott stays on a hot streak and picks up a win. I do not believe he has a win in the next gen on a road course. He dominated the last gen, it felt like, on the road courses. Has not quite had the same level, despite being one of the better drivers. Alex Bowman, last year's winner, has a couple of good weeks now, starting to turn the corner on that really bad stretch of racing he had. And he's also a fan of road courses. Tyler Reddick said it, one of the best road course racers in the next gen. I look for Tyler Reddick to be up front. Ty Gibbs was arguably one of the best cars at Mexico City. Ty Gibbs likes road courses going back to Xfinity. Maybe Ty Gibbs can get his first career win and lock himself into the playoffs, and that might be the only way he can find himself there. Kyle Larson, not coming into this race with a lot of momentum, but he's always found a way to go fast, and he always finds his way around road courses. I think Kyle Larson, you can never count him out, NASCAR's best driver. Christopher Bell has an average finish on the road courses this season of 1.5, a first and a second. He has multiple road course wins in his career. He got his first career win at a road course, the only time NASCAR has won the Daytona road course for a points race. Maybe Christopher Bell becomes the first driver to win 4 races this weekend. Austin Cindric is historically a good road course racer. He's shown some speed at different tracks. Part of it's been luck. Part of it has been, a mistake here or there. But I think Cindric, maybe after having some speed last week, maybe he has some speed this week and he can start building momentum again. And then Ross Chastain has a next-gen road course win. Ross Chastain seems to normally be fast and in the top 10. Trackhouse knows how to build a fast car. Chastain's going to be aggressive. I think Chastain can start turning the momentum that he's lost the last 2 weeks, turn it around, and then Chris Buescher as my 10th favorite. I've already explained why I think he belongs on this list. All right, here's something I'm going to do. I'm going to be doing the rest of the regular season and probably into the postseason. Now that it is really the kind of the end of the regular season, or at least we're getting close to it. The next month and a half, I'm going to start updating you on regular season standings, so you can look for the regular season champ, and also because it is important for the playoffs, as if we don't get 16 individual winners. The cut line will be important to watch, and I will also show you the playoff standings right after this. But regular season standings: William Byron, as he has been all year, first place with 631 points. He is starting to fall off. I would actually say a lot of these guys in the top 5 have not been hot as of late, and it's actually allowed some of these guys behind him to make up ground. Not enough ground to make it, close. But now there is 6 drivers within 100 points of first place, including first place. Can all those drivers make a run at the regular season championship? I don't know. But you kind of know who your championship contenders are. I would say the top 6, top 7 are your favorites to win the overall championship. But William Byron right now winning the regular season championship. He's been in first all year. Chase Elliott up to second over his teammate Kyle Larson by 5 points. 3 Hendrick Motorsports drivers in the top 3 positions. Then you have 2 Joe Gibbs drivers and Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell rounding out the top 5, tied 80 points back of first. Who knows where Denny Hamlin could be? He does have one less race than everybody else after mixing Mexico City for the birth of his son. Tyler Reddick in 6th. He is the highest placed driver in regular season points of those who have not won. Only 98 back of the lead. Ryan Blaney probably thinks he deserves to be higher. A lot of bad luck this year. Still locked into the playoffs. Ryan Blaney, the last driver over 500 points at 504, 127 back of first. Ross Chastain, despite having a rough couple of weeks, is still in 8th place with 458 points. Only one ahead of Ross Chastain. And you can actually see, you'll kind of see how I have this grouped up in my power rankings. But this 8th to 12th and really 13th is so interesting. The gap between first and second is 37, right? And then you have this chunk of championship contenders 1 through 7. But 8 to 13 is a really fun zone that is only separated by 30 total points. By 30 total points. From 458 to 428. And that encompasses Ross Chastain in 8th, Chris Buescher in 9th, Chase Briscoe in 10th, Joey Logano in 11th, Alex Bowman in 12th, and Bubba Wallace in 13th. These guys could finish anywhere. Bowman, Wallace, and Buescher have not won a race, so 3 of those guys have, 3 of them have not, but they're all super close in points. And there's only room for 3 of them. Keep in mind, you see at the bottom, the top 10 drivers in regular season points get a boost when the playoffs start for playoff points. 15 if you're in first, which is why it's so important to try and win the regular season points. 10 for second, and then 8 for third, 7 for fourth, so forth and so on. So this 8th to 13th place battle where 3 guys will make it and 3 guys will not make it in regards to the top 10 could be very, very important when it comes to start counting up playoff points. As if you finish 8th, you get 3 playoff points, right? I don't know if any of those guys can run down number 7, Ryan Blaney, without getting super hot, but it is not yet impossible. So yes, look for the second tier drivers. Again, Chastain, Buescher, Briscoe, Logano, Bowman, and Wallace to really battle it out here. Some of those guys are hot. Some of them are cold. But any one of them could finish 8th through 13th in regular season points. Then you kind of have the cut line, which, as you're going to see in a minute, the cut line actually starts with Bubba Wallace. And you have 14 through 20 here. Some of them have won races. Some of them have not. There is only 49 points separating this bunch of drivers. Ryan Preece leading the way with 405. And then there's a 26-point drop-off to Austin Cindric, who has won a race. Cindric and Eric Jones, who has moved up 13 positions in the last month. One of the hottest drivers in the sport, Eric Jones. Tied with Austin Cindric, a race winner on points at 379. Allmendinger, 10 back. Hocevar, 3 back of Allmendinger. Barry, 3 back of Hocevar. And then Kyle Busch is 20th in regular season points, 7 back of Barry. But again, he's only 23 back. And if in a larger scale of things, he's only 51 back of Preece. So maybe Busch is starting to get into a win-only scenario. He's going to have to get hot in a hurry, but still not too far back of a lot of the guys in front of him. I don't know if Kyle Busch has ever finished this low in regular season points, but he is not having a great year, as the points show. So a lot of, kind of 3 different groups to watch in these regular season standings. The battle to get first, the battle to get into the top 10, and then the battle to try and get above the cut line. Now, here's your current playoff standings. Everybody in yellow has already won a race, and if you win a race, you are automatically locked into the playoffs. Everybody in blue is people who are currently in the playoffs based off of points because there is not 16 individual winners. And then everybody in red is everybody who is out of playoffs. Now, for those yellow drivers, the number next to the name is the amount of playoff points that will get added on at the start of the playoff, which you get from winning races, which is 5 playoff points, and winning stages, which are 1. And then again, like I said, the regular season points, depending where you finish, you can get some added there. Kyle Larson currently leading the playoff point battle at 23, Hamlin at 19. And then, as you can see, guys like Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott only have 5, which represent their race win. Again, if you're Tyler Reddick and you're 128 above the cut line, you're feeling pretty good. But Bubba Wallace, plus 23, that could happen in one race. So some of these drivers definitely want to win or at least start collecting a lot of points. And then for the drivers in blue and red that need to point their way in if they do not get a win, the number in parentheses next to them is how many playoff points they have accumulated if they were to make the playoffs. Which for them, obviously, is stage wins. And they answer a question about Chris Buescher. The reason why he has a -4 is because he was penalized and has to start with negative unless he can point his way up. I believe the penalty was -5, so he actually already got 1 to make it -4. But as you can see, everybody in yellow and blue is currently making the playoffs. Everybody in red is currently missing. And honestly, Eric Jones, Allmendinger, and Hocevar, who are 18th, 19th, and 20th in playoff standings, -49, -59, and -62. That's a lot of ground to make up with not a lot of races. Ryan Preece is the only guy who I could see feasibly making up ground on Bubba Wallace unless something crazy happens. The rest of these guys might have to win at this point in the season. Crazier things have happened. That's just the way I see it. And to end the episode, everybody's favorite segment, the driver power rankings. And as you can see, I still have them color-coded for everybody. And as I was mentioning earlier, that top 7, of which Chase Elliott for the first week of the season is number 1 because he's all the way up to second in points. He just had a race win. He has the best average finish. Chase Elliott, for some reason, it's impossible for him to finish outside of the top 20. Unlike every other driver, he's just stacking great finishes. Finally gets a victory lane. Chase Elliott, number 1 in the power rankings. Now, if you are in this dark green group, it means I think you are the 7 drivers that are legitimate, surefire playoff contenders. No ifs, ands, or buts. And at least 6, maybe even all 7 of these guys should make the round of 8. Obviously, 7 drivers cannot make the round of 4, but I think it's incredibly likely that 3, if not all 4 of the championship drivers come from this dark green group. And they also happen to be the top 7 in points. Isn't that crazy? This yellow group, just as a reminder, if you have not watched the previous episodes, this yellow group, so Briscoe, Buescher, Chastain, Bowman, and Wallace, that's part of that 8 through 13 group I mentioned in the regular season points. They are guys that I think can make a run in the playoffs, can make the round of 8, maybe even a championship, but I don't think they're surefire picks. They're surefire playoff guys that are good enough to make the playoffs, top 12-ish drivers in NASCAR. And there's a distinct difference between them and these bubble guys. But I don't think they're an elite class yet. But again, anything's possible, right? If they get hot at the right time, I think any of them can make a run to the round of 8 or to the championship 4. And in this yellow group, a lot of them have made the round of 8 or even the round of 4. Briscoe's made the round of 8. Buescher, I think has made the round of 12. I'm not sure about the round of 8. Chastain's made a championship appearance. Bowman has made a deep playoff run. Bubba Wallace, I believe, has advanced past the first round once. So, a couple different results. And then Joey Logano probably right now belongs in that group. But the reason why he's blue is, I'll tell everybody, Joey Logano operates on a different playing field as everybody else. Worst champion in NASCAR history last year, but all Logano has proven, he can be awful, but as long as he gets into the dance, he's liable to make a run. He did it last year. He did it in 2022. This format, I think, serves drivers like Joey Logano perfectly. He might wreck a lot in a year. He might, struggle certain races, but Logano always finds a way to get hot, and Logano always finds a way to win races. And this year is no different. Logano's either going to go out in the first round or make a championship 4 appearance. It feels like that's just how Joey Logano operates. And you could argue that the only reason why he has 3 championships is because of this new playoff format. I don't know if Joey Logano would, despite a driver with his immense talent and as many race wins as he has, I don't know if he ever wins a race or everyone's a championship in some of the older formats that don't prioritize winning as much as this one does. Just because he's kind of like Ricky Bobby in a lot of ways, is he not? If you ain't first, you last, and that's kind of how I feel like Joey Logano runs a lot. He's either going to win the race or wreck trying. That's why he is in the category of his own. Anybody in this lighter green, which is only Cindric and Van Gisbergen, guys who are locked into the playoffs with wins, but I don't know if they could point their way in because they're not strong enough on all of the tracks. That's definitely true for Van Gisbergen. Cindric is on the bubble anyway. But guys, I don't think that are locked into the playoffs, but I don't think are a big threat to advance once we get there. And then these guys in red are guys that are trying to point their way into the playoffs. Somebody like Eric Jones and even Ryan Preece, both of those guys are super hot right now. Eric Jones is supernova hot. They're guys that are on the outside looking in on points that can maybe win a race to lock themselves in. But again, these guys in red outside can be fast. I don't know if they can make it without winning, but Preece and Jones have a lot of good runs this year. Dinger has some good runs this year. Hocevar arguably should have more points than he does. And again, these power rankings, I take into account the last week is very important in them. It's probably the most important piece of it, where they have been year long and how strong they are at the track coming up. And this is where my formula has gotten me. And again, I have it color coded so you people at home understand the tiers. Comment below your power rankings. Let me know if I'm smart, if I'm stupid. You can say, hey, the fact that you have Denny Hamlin fourth, despite the fact he is one of only 3 drivers that has won 3 races, is ridiculous. Or you can come to me and say, hey, Tyler Reddick being 5th after having a good finish last week and being really good on road courses, that's stupid. Maybe you want to yell at me because I have Shane Van Gisbergen in the top 20 and he's 32nd in points. To which I would say he had a good run last week. He picked up stage points in both stages, finished on the lead lap. He won not that long ago, and they're going into a track that he's good at. But if you still want to say somebody who's 32nd in points should never be top 20, go ahead and put it in the comments. Power rankings are a wonderful thing to argue about. If you want to argue with me, maybe I'll respond. Put what you think in the comments below, and maybe I'll respond. Maybe I'll take off and add some hot takes into the next episode. So if you have any hot takes, put them in the episode. And as always, I always want to see your guys' pick to win this week. You saw who I think are the strongest drivers. Everybody, stop what you're doing. Like, comment, subscribe, and put down your pick to win this week in the comments below. Thank you guys for coming and listening this week. Thank you for taking time out of your days, your weeks, and your lives. Have fun this July 4th weekend. Watch some NASCAR, watch some sports, do some barbecuing. Celebrate this wonderful holiday. Again, America's birthday only comes around once per year. And if you're a NASCAR fan, you're probably a big America fan. So, again, celebrate. Find some time to get on your couch. That is your spot for the weekend. Not a whole lot going on outside of NASCAR and the MLB. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. Stay safe out there. Peace.